Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are starting a new series type thing, calling it Shootin Schmidt. Try to get a guest on here and stuff. So today I brought my boy Jason on here. What is good?
How you doing, Trayton?
So today we're gonna get right into some stuff. We're gonna go ahead and start with the NFL. We got some big news out of Kansas City. Tyreek Hill not suspended. NFL said there was not enough evidence to accuse him and give him a suspension for his child abuse case. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think for the Chiefs, obviously, it's great for them. I think it's good for Tyreek Hill to be able to be a football player and just be able to play.
That's for sure, yes. He needs to be out there.
But sure. I think it's terrible how the NFL took care of it.
Yeah, I can't fathom how they handled the situation. We talked about this before, we have Adrian Peterson is a perfect example. Same thing. Accused of abusing his child, hit him with a stick. That's Tyreek Hill was accused of punching his kid. Adrian Peterson hit his kid with a stick.
And I think Adrian Peterson's kid was a lot older too.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson's kid was older, all this and that. Not as serious, if I remember correctly, not a series of injuries to Adrian Peterson's kid.
No broken bones.
Adrian Peterson's kid was put on the commissioner's exempt list. You know what that means? It means you can't play football unless they clear you to. He could have never played another down in the NFL. And that was for less or the same thing.
Arguably less.
Arguably the same thing, yes. And we also have situations, like Ezekiel Elliott too, a couple years ago. It was just, allegedly.
Alleged, yeah.
It was alleged. It was nothing that they had evidence for, anything like that. They took it to court. They claimed they couldn't suspend him. They tried again. They took it to court, said no. Took it to court, said no. For 8 weeks, they tried to suspend him, and they gave him a 6-game suspension for something he allegedly did. But we have something as serious as this, and the league can't decide whether they want to suspend him or not. There's not evidence. Where was the evidence in Zeke's case?
Yeah, it's just another question mark for the NFL. I mean, if you want consistency along the league for what is punishable and what's not punishable, you can't be bouncing in and out of decisions on suspensions.
Absolutely.
A lot of people think he should have seen suspension. I think that the NFL just needs to set a precedent and needs to establish what they're going to do in these cases. They can't be faltering on what they think. They aggressively went after Zeke, but then with Tyreek Hill, it seems like they were pretty lenient and let the law do what it did.
Yeah, and I really just don't get it because, like I said, they need to just figure this out because it's coming to a point where they just pick and choose who they want to do suspensions for and all this and that. Like, it just needs to be one set. Like, they just need to figure out what they are going to do for each case and set it in stone already.
Yeah, well, they should
it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, they should either let the law do what it does. If they go to court and they are charged with something, then punish them as if they were charged in court. Or they need to decide that they're going to launch their own investigations.
Yeah, and which they did.
And make their own judgments on every case. They can't be picky and choosy on some cases and not others. So,
guess we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. So, next up, Daniel Jones. Boy, I know you were loving my reaction to this pick. This could arguably be one of the biggest busts in NFL history. We haven't even hit training camp yet. When do you think he's going to get his chance to play over Eli Manning, and how do you think he's going to fare?
Well, that's a great question on when he's going to get his chance. I've heard rumors that if he beats Eli out in training camp, you could see him play in the first week of the season, which is just beyond me why you think he would do that. He's a guy that you're going to have to put behind a quarterback for at least 3 years if you want to get the most out of him that you can. Because he's got to learn. I don't think he's ready. He's not NFL ready.
To be honest, I don't see any NFL characteristic in him at all. He showcased a decent arm, not great arm strength. That is the one thing that almost every good NFL quarterback has, arm strength. Daniel Jones lacks that.
I don't know. But hey, I mean, why you would like people are hearing? I'm hearing people want to force him in as soon as possible, get him in there. Which
you can't.
It makes no sense.
That makes no sense at all.
And it's crazy because I was looking at Eli's stats, and I just think about how Eli's struggling. It's at least that's like a consensus among a lot of people. But he had his best career percentage in his entire career last year at 66%.
Yeah.
He threw 21 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, which is the least amount of interceptions he's thrown since 2008.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I thought he didn't do as well as he's done in the past, but given what he had, I mean, he did pretty well. So why people are going for his head and want him out of there so bad is beyond me.
He is getting old. You know, it's definitely fair to say he is slowing down.
He has his moments.
He has his moments. He's definitely slowing down. He did have a good year last year compared to what everybody says. But I just, like I said, I just don't see this situation. I don't see how this situation could bring good at all. Because, like, obviously you have that aging quarterback, and then you're going to bring in a guy that there's so many question marks around him, and you take him as the 6th pick. They could have taken him in the 2nd round at least. Keep that in mind.
That's a whole other discussion, to be honest.
Keep that in mind, yeah. Just, like I said, I don't think this is a good situation for New York at all. But
yeah. That's what happened. They got the pick, now they got to deal with it. So.
All right. Early impact rookies. Who do you like?
Well, I mean, Kyler Murray is the big one right away. Obviously, the number 1 overall pick, and he got his coach from Oklahoma, and it's his team to do what he can with. They got rid of what's his name? They had I forgot his name.
It was Steve Wilkes, I think.
No, quarterback.
Oh, quarterback, yeah. Rosen.
They had Josh Rosen. Just drafted him the year before. Sent him out to Miami. Got rid of him. So he's just ponying up. He'll be the next guy in there, and I'm interested to see what he does. Josh Allen fall into the Jags.
Yeah, that was huge. That was huge. Jacksonville already has a star-studded defense.
Yeah, no, they have amazing linebackers too.
Telvin Smith, Miles Jack.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so if he's hungry, he goes in there and he learns from those guys. That defense is going to be ravenous. And
yeah, your D line is still pretty stacked. Yeah. You still have Jalen Ramsey and AJ Boye in the secondary.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, you have that defense is set, and then that's a steal of a pick. So. To me, even though I am a Browns fan, so I might seem a little biased, I really like the Greedy Williams pick, middle of 2nd round. Browns needed number 2 corner. They got a very athletic guy, great man-to-man, good off the press. From what I've heard, he has been kind of slow in training camp, but he's also getting to face Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, a very speedy Antonio Callaway, guys like that. He's getting valuable reps at practice. Yeah. So he could definitely pan out. That'd be great to have Denzel Ward on one side and Greedy Williams on the other. So I really like that one. I really like Devin White to the Bucks, number 5th pick. To me, Devin White fits exactly what they're looking for. And that's a very good fit for the linebacker in the NFL nowadays anyway. Speedy, can move around the field, just absolute field general. The Bucks let Quan Alexander go, which is exactly what he was. So at least you can replace him.
I agree with that, but there's just so many other question marks around the field in the secondary.
Yeah, and that's true, but having that one cornerstone guy can really start the turnaround.
It makes sense to draft best available. And it's in a position that you just had lost at, so it makes sense. And then there's another one that I had, Garrett Bradbury, selected in the 1st round by the Vikings. Now, this is one that I think could be a really big, like, boom or bust kind of pick, because he could come in there, and if he's hungry enough and really wants it, he can command that O-line. But if he's shaky and because he's got a lot of pressure behind him, and Kirk, with having the spotlight on him, if he starts feeling a little bit of that pressure, then that could just completely collapse him, and there goes the offensive line again for the Vikings.
Kirk Cousins struggled at the end of last year, especially with pressure. He was getting pressured a lot last year.
So if he could bring some time for Kirk, then things may open up for that Vikings offense. So.
Definitely have to wait and see on that one, because they do have Stephon Diggs, they do have Adam Thielen, so that could be a good offense to watch. Teams to watch, either in training camp or throughout the season. Who do you like?
I think throughout the season, definitely the Jacksonville Jaguars. with the new pickup at linebacker. You get Nick Foles coming in, Super Bowl champion, a guy who, whenever the pressure gets on him, it seems like he always finds a way to pull it out and get the job done.
Yeah, I really like that too, because now you can take Blake Bortles, who, I'm sorry, terrible NFL quarterback, absolutely horrendous. You get him out, and even if you gotta remember, when Blake Bortles was doing his best, which is still very poorly, they went to the AFC Championship game, and they had the lead in that game.
Yeah.
They could have easily been in the Super Bowl. You take him out, you put Nick Foles in, because Nick Foles will at least be average. Well, what can we be looking
you
at?
Give you give the defense someone to believe in on the offensive side of the ball, someone who can get it done. And you see, obviously, like you're saying, they were in the AFC Championship. If they have confidence in their offense to get the job done, they can really shut teams down, and you never know what they can do when they get there.
I can tell you, I like the Colts.
Oh yeah, they're often the young offensive line.
Young, very talented offensive line.
Good old Harlan back in the backfield from USF.
Defense is definitely improving. They had a good defense last year too. They picked up Paris Campbell in the draft. There was a couple. I don't know how I forgot them, but they had a
really good linebacker who was destroying pass rushers.
Yeah, Darius Leonard. Yeah, and that was a steal and pick last year. So he's gonna be back, obviously. I really like the Colts in general. They have, like I said, very, very all-around talented team. Andrew Luck clearly has come back from this
shoulder
injury.
Yeah.
Since it's rumored that wasn't an injury or not. But he's come back, and he has been a stud.
And you have T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton, yeah. And then, like I said, we got Paris Campbell. Signed Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron, absolute sleeper last year. Nobody expected him to do what he did. 10? I forget. They led tight ends in touchdowns, I'm pretty sure.
Sounds about right.
But
he was tearing up the league.
Hell of a year.
Fantasy football, so. Anytime you play something, you just hate to see it.
Yeah. All right. So.
And then I guess the NFC too, because we talked about the AFC.
Yeah, we could.
I'm thinking there's one team. It's the Panthers. If they can stay healthy, they have a good defense, and then if you can keep Greg Olsen and you can keep Cam Newton healthy.
Olsen was a big one. If Olsen didn't get hurt last year, they could have been in the playoffs.
They got potential.
They had great potential.
I would think the Packers, with the young guys they drafted in the secondary and on defense, Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, he can take you to the playoffs, and from there, he can just do unbelievable things. He's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy.
I'm not sure. There's a few teams I feel like I could point out with the NFC. Let's say I'm going to go with the 49ers. Because there's that question mark in Jimmy Garoppolo, because he has been great since he's been a starting quarterback in the NFL. Like, he might not have the best statistics. He has won games as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Obviously not a lot. He hasn't even played a whole season's worth of starts. But I just feel like they've put together a very good team. DeForest Buckner on the D-line. Solomon Thomas.
Oh, they picked up Quan Alexander.
Offense is definitely something we'll have to watch for. They were targeting Antonio Brown. Couldn't pull the trigger on that one.
They have Jerick McKinnon coming back from injury.
Jerick McKinnon's coming back. George Kittle, another monster of a tight end.
Broke out and killed it.
Very good O-line.
Yeah.
I feel like they could. I feel like they might end up third or fourth in division. Like, personally, I think that might be where they sit. But if I would just in my wildest dreams see a team that is expected to be down there just pull out and end up in the top, I feel like it could be them.
Yeah, if they find a way to groove in the training camp, and if they can get things going early on in the season, then they definitely could break out into the playoffs. I don't know how far they'll get, but they've got the pieces. It'll just finding those guys to gel, and if they can get things going, Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy and picks up where he left off at the end of the season before, then who knows what could happen.
Very tough division too.
Yeah,
Seahawks and Rams. So we'll have to see. All right, so we're going to switch gears over into the NBA. CP3 trade difficulties. Thunder got him in the deal for Westbrook. For some reason, they cannot find a suitor that is
I can tell you
strong
why.
enough interest. He's got some sort of personal issues against CP3, but why do you think they're having such a hard time finding somewhere to send him?
It's contract. He's getting paid. He's going to get paid over $40 million over the next 3 years each year.
Mm-hmm.
And for a guy who it seems he's already reached his peak, and I'll be straight up, he's still a great point guard, but
Absolutely.
I don't know if he's the kind of guy. He's a guy that right now in his career, if you can get him on a veteran's minimum, or you could get him for a slower contract, then he'd be invaluable to a number of teams like the Bucks, the Lakers. But with that contract, it's just such a terrible contract that teams can't take it on and have other superstars.
And you can't buy it out either.
No.
He cannot afford to buy that out. That's what they were talking about. They're like, if they can't get a trade for him, they might just buy him out. Wait, you're not buying out $40 million a year.
Yeah.
Yes, they can agree. They can agree to the buyout amount, so it could be as low as 1 penny. But you're not even gonna take that risk, because when you take a contract like that, a guy's not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'll just take $10 million."
You saw like Carmelo. That's the exact same thing the Knicks were dealing with. He had a terrible contract. He was not playing nearly as well as he was before, and they had such a hard time getting him out of there.
You know what they got back for him? A bag of potato chips.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he is still a very good player.
Point guard.
He's still a top of the line playmaker, which not a lot of teams have. I just, like I said, I don't understand why teams are not trying to take this flyer, but
Well, I could see the Heat. That'd be the main thing. I know a lot of people are talking about the Heat being the team. And
my thing with the Heat is what assets is OKC going to get back out of the Heat?
Well, it's the OKC's just trying to get out of the luxury tax. They can't. If you're in the West and you're in the luxury tax and you're not having a team that's competing for the playoffs, then you're just throwing money down the drain. And if they're trying to rebuild, they don't need his contract on that team. So, and the Heat, I don't know. I mean, if the Heat pick him up too, are they going to be? Is that going to push them ahead to be a major powerhouse in the East? Maybe, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think if they got the Heat, the only thing that would be holding them back from reaching that powerhouse status be the development of Justice Winslow and Bam Adebayo. Because Winslow has been extremely slow developing coming in, and Bam Adebayo showed prowess defensively. Is he going to be able to get you 15 points a game?
Yeah, you'll figure it out because he's got the starting role right now since Hassan Whiteside left.
All right. So the Los Angeles Clippers have made a splash this offseason. They have been in the playoffs consistently over the years.
Gave the Warriors a run for their money this year.
Gave the Warriors a very big run for their money without a single superstar. Now you pair up the two hands-down best two-way defensive players in the league. You bring back Patrick Beverly. Montrezl Harrell still on your bench. Lou Williams is a walking bucket off the bench. Is it fair to call them the favorites, though?
No, I wouldn't call them the favorites. I'd give them that they're the best defensive team in the league. I would not argue that at all.
You can't debate that.
But there's still LeBron, and you bring a guy like AD. I mean, LeBron's had Chris Bosh, but he's never had as dominant as a big man as Anthony Davis is.
Yeah, and even when he had Shaq, he was getting old at that time.
Yeah.
Shaq had already been slowing down at that point.
Exactly. And then if LeBron is playing point, I don't see many point guards who could even think to guard LeBron. And it's just I agree that the Clippers could be one of the favorites, but I just don't see them as the clear-cut best team in the league right now.
I can tell you, I see them as the clear-cut best, but I do understand where you come from. I do think the Clippers barely should be the favorites to win it all. I don't think that it's by a wide margin, because at this point, the NBA is as open as it's ever been, especially when it comes to a playoff run. But to me, yeah, you take a team like the Lakers, you still have LeBron James, best player in the world. I don't want to hear the whole he's slowing down. He's the best player in the world. You throw him, Anthony Davis, obviously, but they are deep. This is the deepest team the Lakers have had in a while. Danny Green, DeMarcus Cousins. You brought in Quinn Cook off your bench. Just guys like this.
Didn't they keep Rondo as well?
Yeah, and they kept Rondo too. I completely forgot they kept Rondo. This is the deepest team they've had in a while.
Kuzma's still there. He's still developing.
I don't know how I forgot about Kuzma. Like, they are the deepest team they've had in a while. And the Raptors literally just proved it this year. You have to have bench depth to win the finals. If you don't have 4 superstars that mesh together like the Warriors had, if you don't have bench depth, you're not going to go anywhere.
For sure.
So I see what you're saying about the Lakers. I really like the Bucks still out of the East. I feel like they're still up and coming. Giannis has just gotten better year by year so far.
They lost a big guy in Mirotic though. He went over.
Yeah, they did. They did lose Mirotic, but I still like Giannis is still.
Oh, he's still developing.
He's still developing. If he gets a jump shot, he's the most unguardable player in the league besides KD.
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing signs of that in the playoffs here and there. He can take some shots that, he hadn't taken beforehand. So if he can develop that over the summer.
They re-signed Brook Lopez. He played very valuable minutes in the playoffs. They re-signed Middleton. I still iffy on that one. I think they could have gotten a better situation in shooting guard, but you bring him back, you at least keep that chemistry and stuff.
I just think he's another bigger guy.
He's
got length, he can play defense, and
guard,
he can shoot. So.
Yeah, but we'll have to see on that one.
And the Sixers, that Al Horford move.
I really like the Al Horford move. I can't even get into words on that one. Tobias Harris, I was questioning for a max contract. I feel like you don't give a max contract to a 3rd or 4th option. But Al Horford fits them beautifully. Beautifully. Joel Embiid was complaining because Brett Brown wanted him to take more outside shots. Joel Embiid wants to play more like a traditional center. He doesn't mind stretching the floor from time to time, but he wants to play a traditional center. Al Horford, you slide him in at the 4, and guess what? Now Al Horford can be the guy stretching the floor. Embiid can go do his thing.
Yeah.
And what does Embiid do when he does his thing?
Dominant.
First team All-NBA potential. Every year.
Well, and the one guy in the East that could stop him was Al Horford. Now he's
now
on
you
his
take
team.
him out, yeah.
So
he's on
who's stopping him now?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy.
What do you expect with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn?
Well, I think if we're talking immediately, I could see him being a 1st-round exit team.
That is a hot take. That is a hot take.
I'm going to be honest, but I say that because Kyrie, you saw what happened when he had a team in Boston. He had Gordon Hayward, he had all these guys, and
dismantled them.
In Boston, they didn't really do it. Granted, Kyrie is clear-cut leader of the team while KD's gone. They have a bunch of really good guys that led their team, granted, without D'Angelo Russell now.
But
they led him to the playoffs.
You replace him with Kyrie.
You get Kyrie. I don't see him making... If it's just Kyrie, KD, if he doesn't come back, I see him being a 1st-round exit team. KD comes back late in the year, gets some time to play in the regular season, I'll give him a 2nd-round exit to a team like the 76ers or the Milwaukee Bucks. Because KD, even if he comes back and he's not running like he was before, he still has a great shot. You know he'll be working on his shot while he's still recovering. And he's just... You can't guard his shot, even if he's just taking a straight-up jump shot, catch and shoot. So it's all going to depend on what Kevin Durant we get back. If he's anything close to what he was before, once this first year comes by and he gets his conditioning back and he's back to where he was,
the team develops that chemistry and stuff too.
Brooklyn could make it all the way. I don't know if they can win a title with the way the West is, but they definitely can make a run for it. But if we get a KD that's more like a Boogie Cousins when he comes back, then how far?
That could be
the West.
And that's brutal if you have another 2 years on his contract at that point in time, and he's not doing it.
Yeah, and the East is getting more and more difficult as years go by. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind. It's going to depend on how KD comes back.
I'm not really sure how I feel on them right now. I like the fit. I do think it makes them a great team. I do think pairing the two of them can get them to that title contention level. But you've seen over the years how badly KD struggles with media. How sensitive he has been to a word being said about him. Goes on Twitter, he has burner accounts. Guys are making burner accounts in the NBA. Seriously?
It's pretty soft.
That's soft. That is soft. Kyrie, same thing.
Yeah, he's very sensitive.
Terrible with the media. Maybe, at least he wasn't going on social media, going off about crap. At least that we know of, doesn't have any burner accounts. But they are both terrible with media. And you're just going to go and sign with a big market team. A very big market team. In New York.
Well, I think
that is bold.
That's part of the reason why I think they avoided the Knicks.
But the problem is the Nets are just as big as a market as the Knicks are.
No, I agree.
It's still middle heart of New York.
But they don't have the pressure of a team that's been struggling for so many years, who have had success in the past.
But at the same time, they do though.
Yeah, but that was when they were in New Jersey.
Yeah, no, not even though. Remember the Nets? Remember what they did with the Kevin Garnett trade?
Yeah.
With Paul Pierce?
Mm-hmm.
Sent 4 first-round picks. They were in misery for years. Last year, they finally got out of it a little bit. I don't even think they finished with a winning record, though, either. But they managed to sneak into the playoffs. Like I said, it's you put them, and they still, over recent years, have not had a lot of, success. And they made a terrible move in that trade, I can tell you that. And put them in a terrible position because they would have had multiple. They would have had a number 1 pick, number 3 pick, number 8 pick last year. And then, like I said, though, you just put them in that media, that big of a market. This could be one of the most combustible teams I've ever seen in my life.
I agree with you.
So I really don't know what to expect. But like you said, ceiling for them is beyond what people think.
Really.
Alright, so we're going to get into some baseball stuff now. We have a couple of rule changes we're going to talk about. Stealing first base. This is a thing now that they are testing in the independent league baseball. On any pitch that is not caught by the catcher. Basically like a drop third strike. Guy drops the third strike, nobody's on first base, you can run to first. Basically, on any pitch that is not caught by the catcher, even if it's the first pitch of the at-bat, guy can take off down the first base line.
It's unbelievable. It would change baseball for what it's been for so long.
For literally forever.
Yeah, to something that it's never been before. I mean, I know that it's. I don't even know what it would do to punish a catcher. I guess catchers would have to pretty much be able to block everything. Mm. But what's the point of that? Like, I can see on a pass ball you have a guy on base already and he advances, which could put him in scoring position. Well, it would, obviously. But I don't see the benefit of the league and how that would improve play, allowing guys to run on any pass ball.
I don't see, and that's I agree with that completely. And what they're trying to do with baseball, which I really personally do not like Rob Manfred as commissioner, that he is trying to just change everything. He is trying to make it more appealing to the fans. What is stealing first base going to make more appealing to people? Okay, seeing it once would be cool, but then seeing it again, it's like, where the hell is he going? So I don't understand what the thought is. Oh, let's just let a guy steal first base. That makes no sense.
You're gonna have guys like Malik Smith trying to steal every single base.
Yeah, you imagine that. You could literally say he stole every base in an inning. Literally every base in an inning. What?
I don't know. It's unbelievable. But hey, I guess teams or not teams, the league's just trying to adapt to a changing market, but I just don't see that being the way to do it.
Like, and that's another thing. What market is that big for them to want to change a rule so drastic?
Or how would that introduce a new audience to them by doing that? Yeah, it wouldn't really change anything.
The other rule we're going to talk about, not really a rule, robot umpires. So, I'm really kind of stuck on a fence with this one, because what they're talking about doing, they tested it in the single A All-Star game, I think, is what they said, or double, it was something like that. In a minor league All-Star game, they tested it. Umpire put a phone in his back pocket, headphones connected. Pitch was in the guy throws a pitch. They have laser technology in terms of strike zone specifically made for each batter, obviously, because different height obviously is taller zone and all that. And a voice would go through the phone and say strike, ball, or can't tell. And if he says can't tell, it means umpire makes his decision. But the umpire can't overrule the system. So I'm really stuck on a fence with this one. Because that's another thing. If you bring robotic umpires into baseball, you are changing the game forever. And that is something you can't just undo.
Yeah, personally, I don't like it. I don't think it should be done in any sport.
Yeah.
Especially baseball, where the strike zone for each umpire may be different, and that brings a little bit of variation into the game. Granted, I know
baseball is very good at variating the game. That's another debate that they've had. Oh, the DH. That is what makes it unique. The AL gets it, the NL doesn't. That is what makes baseball unique. There's no other sport where rules change between leagues.
Yeah. So I don't like it personally, because I think that the human error is a part of the game.
It's part of every game.
And yeah, exactly.
And
Football,
it has been
hockey,
forever.
Baseball, whatever. And it's something that people can't stand at times, but it brings that something that may be mundane initially, looking at it and the scope of the game, may be completely changing the game throughout it. And I know there's teams, and obviously for the players it'd be infuriating that some outside force is impacting what's going on in the game, but that unknowing, like that interests me, at least personally, seeing that how other things could interfere with the game.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of conversations, especially like basketball and stuff. It's like sometimes they feel like a ref kind of messed up the game at the end. I remember we went to Buffalo Wild Wings for Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals this year. We're talking about how the refs basically decided that game between Toronto and Milwaukee.
Yeah, there were a lot of calls falling in the favor of Toronto. Some
terrible missed calls that should have been against Toronto. But this is something that you bring this in, like I said, it changes it forever. You can't just go back to having humans call strikes if this doesn't work. And like I said, I agree with you completely. I feel like the human error is a part of sports. Yeah. That is something that will always happen.
Well, I also think that if you introduce that for the officiating, when are we going to start seeing robots playing all the games too? And that's the other thing. You bring robots into it, then when are we going to start putting robots who look like humans? Because, I mean, obviously AI and stuff's evolving as it's going on. When are we just going to start seeing robots playing the games? Because that's also part of it, is that you have these players, and different players do different things. You don't want uniformity in the game. You want that variation. You want something that you can relate to, because obviously mistakes part of everything. And if you bring in that robot for umpiring or officiating, who knows what it'll introduce into the game past that. So.
All right. So lastly, we're going to talk about some dark horse teams that we're looking forward to make a playoff run, either for a wild card or a divisional spot. Who do you like?
Well, hometown team, I'd like to see the Rays make a push for it. They've been slipping a bit in the wild card, been dropping some games they shouldn't be, but they've proven early on in the season that if they can hit a hot streak, they can really start taking down some teams. I think if they can find that form, the pitching, they got to find a rhythm with the pitching. Blake Snell's been worse than anticipated. Charlie Morton stepped up big time. if they can just find some consistent pitching, get the bats going again, and they can really make a run for it, at least in the wild card. I don't know if they'll catch the Yankees. They're just playing phenomenal.
It's always a question mark with the Yankees, because one thing that also makes baseball unique is there's no salary cap. Like, there is a luxury tax limit. There's no salary cap. And basically, like the Rays, that's the reason the Rays get outplayed by the Yankees so much. The Rays don't have the kind of money the Yankees do. The Yankees can just throw their wallets at whoever they want. The Rays don't have as deep of pockets. And they never will, just because it's not the same market. There's no, you just can't. So that makes it so unique. And the Rays might never have the $300 million to spend every year like the Yankees do. The Rays might not even clear $100 million anytime soon. But I can tell you, I do like them. They should figure this out, this little funk that they've been through lately. I feel like they'll figure it out. They should. I personally think they will end up taking the second wild card. I don't think Oakland stays there for long. I can tell you who I really like as a dark horse team right now. I predict them to win the division at the start of the year. This has not been pretty. The New York Mets. Under 500 right now. Not having a good season. It's been a dismal season for them for sure. They just went on a pretty good win streak.
Well, they just recently got Cano back, right?
Yeah. They dropped back-to-back games to the Giants. And those were tough losses, obviously. But you can easily bounce back off of stuff like that. And I just have a feeling... I read this thing about how they were being mismanaged. Edwin Diaz has been atrocious this year, that's for sure. He can obviously turn it around, though. Their bullpen has been so bad. They have blown... This was, I think, right before the All-Star break, so this could have changed by now, but I'm not sure. They've blown... At that point in time, they had blown 22 saves. So that means they were leading in the 9th inning and lost. Or, not lost, but at least allowed them to tie the game. Yeah. At least allowed them to tie the game in the 9th inning. 22 times. If they had gotten at least 30% of them, they'd been tied for the second wild card.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They would have gotten half of them. They would have been the first wild card, and I think it said like 3 or 4 games back of the division at most. If they'd gotten about 75%, they'd have been leading the division. If they would have gotten all of them, they'd have the best record in baseball.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not going to be perfect when you have those leads, but I understand.
Obviously, you're not. But if you at least were an average bullpen, and that's so I'm sure they're going to target some arms at the deadline. But if they had an average bullpen, they could be leading the division right now.
For sure.
And Philadelphia is not showing too much promise right now. Atlanta is good, but Atlanta is not running away with the division. The division in general is up for grabs right now, even though the Mets are as far back right now as they are. Last I checked, they were about 13 games back. But they have so much talent. They could use another power bat, so Cespedes getting hurt and being out for the year is not helping them. But you have Cano. Jeff McNeil is leaving the league in average. He's tearing it up.
Yeah.
They have Pete Alonso is come on strong. Their starting pitching obviously is undebatably one of the best in baseball. They had a chance to add an arm this offseason. They didn't do it. But if they just had a decent bullpen, we could be talking about the New York Mets being favorites to win the World Series right now.
That's crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, or if they just had a few things fall their way, because I mean, saying all 22 of those blown saves weren't just because of terrible pitching. There's obviously things that could have gone on there. You have a few decisions fall your way. You're looking at a completely different situation, like you're saying.
Like, so different that they could be winning the division right now.
So that's crazy.
All right.
And I was thinking one more team, and this one questionable. I think that the Angels have a possibility to sneak.
That was another. You know what? I completely forgot. I was thinking about that last night. I don't know why I completely forgot to mention them. Yes, you are right. They are definitely somebody to watch out for.
I think with the passing of Tyler Skaggs, it could have lit a fire in that team that they could just start really cranking it out. I mean, Mike Trout, he's one of the best players, arguably the best player that we've seen in a long time. If he can start turning it on, Shohei Ohtani, he's batting well. They figure out the defense and the pitching shapes up a bit. I mean, that's a team, they sneak into the wild card and can do some damage in the playoffs for sure.
You can obviously do damage with the best player in baseball on your team, no matter what happens. But yeah, they have a very solid team in general. I like them. Obviously, like you said, the passing of Tyler Skaggs can light a fire under a team. 2009, the Angels, Nick Adenhart was a young starting pitcher for them, passed away in a car accident. They won the division that year. You go back to 2002, I think it was, Darryl Kyle for the Cardinals. He passed away. He woke up they found him dead in his hotel room before a game. They had to cancel the game and all that. And Cardinals got a fire lit under them. They won the division too. I just feel like sometimes, like, obviously don't want to see it happen, but sometimes stuff like this can flip a switch and a team can figure it out quick.
Right, because at that point they're not just winning it for themselves.
They're winning
it for something greater. Yeah. Exactly. So you never know what could happen.
Yep. All right, well, that's going to do it for the first edition of Schmidt Talk, and we will see you guys later.
Thank you for having me on.